Dear viewers, welcome back. It's still the show Deen and Dunya, and the topic is domestic violence. So we've been discussing about the issues we see around about domestic violence, and that reminds me of what Leslie Morgan said, and she was like, the abuses actually follow stages before they finally strike. She was like, first of all, they're going to show you so much love so that you trust them and then you'll become comfortable with them. Then they'll start to isolate you, start to stop you from doing what you like, taking you away from people that could rescue you, and then later on they'll start threatening you that if you try leaving or try doing something, they're actually going to come after you. Then finally they'll strike by maybe hitting you or punching you in the face, all these things. And she was like, that was how her husband started, and everything was fine. Then later on he started beating her up, and it became like a norm that he would normally beat her up maybe twice in a week. And she stayed there for a very long time. And then later on, she had to break the cycle. So it's really interesting to know that people that are really suffering from these things are still staying in the marriage or in the relationship or friendship or whatever type of ship. So I don't know. Can you tell us why?
Okay. So like you said, you described narcissistic abuse.
Okay.
And when it comes to that specific type of abuse, it follows the stages that you mentioned, and the individual can actually break away at any point by making sure that they have strong support network. So that's why you should never neglect your support network when you get married. And beyond this, in Islam, we have been encouraged to do istishara, find it out before marriage. So, like the case of the 30-year-old marriage you mentioned, if the first marriage was abusive and, the parents of the girl and the girl herself had taken the time, the lady herself had taken the time to actually do their investigation properly, it would have revealed that this
this exists for the former.
Yes, that this exists. So it's very important for us to, as an Uber, be more conscious about investigating who our children, both male and female, are about to get married to, so that we understand if there is an existing character trait in the family, or if the person has been married before, if there is an existing abuse, so that we can save ourselves years of heartache. So at any point in this cycle, a woman can break free. Is it at the point of being bombarded by love? Is it at the point of starting to isolate? So individuals need to be able to have self-love, because sometimes there is also a feeling of unworthiness in individuals, which narcissistic people take advantage of. So individuals should have self-love, and from this love, give out of it. I've had some people describe, some situations that they actually caused it. Now, they weren't assertive enough. They were depending on externals for validation. So know that you are whole. So two whole people go into marriage. Marriage does not complete you, it complements you.
Sure.
Please need to repeat that.
Marriage does not complete you, it complements you. Allah has made you whole. You're whole. You don't need anybody from outside to make you whole.
That's true.
So know that marriage is complementary. Whatever you're wanting from outside, you should be able to give it to yourself. Is it care? Is it love? I've had some women describe things they wanted from their husbands, and they were not even giving this to themselves. How do you expect somebody to give you something you're not willing to give to yourself? Why are you waiting for love to come from outside when you can love yourself first?
It even increases your value as a person on its own, and then no man or woman will look down on you that I will just keep this person as my prisoner. And before we even continue, I think I want us to now broaden the scope a little bit, because when you talk about domestic violence, it's domestic. I think it covers the whole home, and we've heard of cases where the children are now for example, maybe there is is a house help in the house, the children are now the ones molesting or abusing the help, or it might come from the parents themselves. And sometimes it might even come from an uncle to the nephew or niece, or from even directly from the parents. So what can we now say to children that are now being abused? Sometimes most of them do not really even understand that it is abuse. Sometimes you just feel like these people just hate me, or that's how it is supposed to be. And then when they grow up, it has this effect on their psyche and how they think. So you sometimes you really see it and you feel pity for them. So what can we say to them to help them?
And sometimes they come to them with threats, so they cannot speak up.
And they're kids, so it's like your whole life is being controlled by this person. There is no outside source of that you can go to or run away to. I mean, they are like, okay, if you run away, where will you run away to?
Sure.
So I don't know, what can we really say to these children or these teenagers that can help them to speak out, or can help them to find help? Just show them, give them pointers where to go to, what to do, and how to go about it.
Thank you so much for that very vital question. The fact is, as long as the world exists, we would have abusers. Because some of these abusers have been conditioned to abuse because they have been hurt people, they've been through abuse themselves.
Yeah.
So,
Some of them is a psychological problem they have, and like you said, not everybody that appears normal in the range of, normal is actually normal. So what can individuals do, especially children? They don't have as much access to information as adults do, and there is sometimes the abuser is threatening, sometimes the abuser is even the parents themselves. So that's why I want schools to have real counseling units, because it's one of the first points of call for children, and school administrators should take this cases seriously. The counselors in schools should be well trained to be able to handle this sort of cases, to know the right, because if you tell them to go to human rights, they may not even know where to go. But if the school counselor is able to take these cases to human rights, the human rights should take school counselors up. They should provide maybe seed funding for escalating this sort of thing. The government should take an active interest in the young.
I think that's a really big problem. Schools don't really take it as seriously as they should.
Most private schools, they are after school fees. The
And
parents,
just the money.
when one parent can pay 2 million, 3 million for a child.
For a child.
So how would they want to kill the cow?
Exactly. They will not want the parent to withdraw the child from the school.
But school administration is a moral obligation. You are a custodian. Allah is going to ask you.
Sure.
You need to take a more active role in the lives of those children under your custody. If the home is not providing the security they deserve, the school should be able to step in.
Security.
So levels as a child, if you're facing any level of emotional abuse could be physical, it could be sexual harassment, it could be actual sexual abuse, which is it involves penetration, it could be emotional, it could be psychological. If you feel uncomfortable with any of your parents, any of your uncles, any of your house helps, please speak out. Speak to your school counselor or somebody you trust at school, or go online and search for the number of human rights and call them. You'll be able to get help by the grace of Allah, and make du'as. May Allah keep us safe in places that are supposed to be safe for us.
I think do we categorize, these cases of bullying within the schools? We also categorize them under domestic violence, because the classroom is also supposed to be a domestic environment. Because I remember when I was in secondary school, we weren't that much in a class. I think when I was in SS3, we weren't that much. So it was a second family away from home. We were like one big happy family with our teachers, and within the students ourselves, everyone was, always have, at a point in time, you will have an interaction with at one person. You must at least everyone knows everybody. So it is like if a case of bullying or something of that sort comes up within the classroom, I feel like we should still categorize it under domestic violence and it's still within the school. So I think the idea of school counseling has to be involved. That's just basically
most schools today that have investigated don't have active school counselors, and some of them that have interacted with that have counselors are not trained. So you see the counselor just all over the place doing things that they feel in their mind, not doing things professionally.
Well, sometimes it might be a teacher that they just asked to be the
counselor. That have engaged. No professional.
Honestly, until now that you've mentioned, I've even never heard of any school saying we have counselors for kids.
There are some schools that actually have counselors, but some of the counselors are not professional at all. They are not trained.
Okay.
Yeah.
So basically, they have to go.
So they
through
do
training.
what we call native counseling, which is a mixture of culture and their beliefs
and their own
and
personal
values.
beliefs.
Yes. But counseling goes beyond that. You have to be a professional. You have to understand psychology.
So now going back to the issue of people staying in abuse, some victims actually said that, okay, there are two difficult questions to answer. The first one is the victim asking himself or herself that, okay, why am I still here? And they'll be like, mostly the abusers would like to share maybe a very huge secret with them to feel like, hey, I'm very strong, so now I'm the one to be this person's savior. Because maybe they've suffered from something from before. So I'll have to be there so that I'll help them. Or if some people outside ask them why they're still there, they'll be like, okay, they'll just take everything away from me and I don't know how to start. So, dear viewers, this is still the show Deen and Dunya. Now I'm going to ask our special guest to tell us what to do, just maybe one or two advice for the abusers to stop doing it and also for the victims.
Yeah. So the thing is, it gets very uncomfortable before it gets comfortable. It's like when Allah asked Prophet Noah to build the boat. Sometimes getting out of a trial, this is a trial. Like I had, a lady come to me recently. She's a graduate, but her uncle was sexually harassing her. And it had gotten to the point where he said, give me the real goods or get out of my house. And I told her that you're a graduate, you have a choice. Go back to your parents, you have a parent, or do something, but don't stay in that environment. So sometimes it requires us changing environment. And she was, she was not too pleased with leaving the house. She said, I don't have a job, where do I go to? And from her profile, I could see that she was struggling with her faith in Allah because she felt abandoned. Because some of the questions abused people ask is, where was Allah when this was happening?
Exactly.
Why me?
Why me? The question I asked her was, will the blind person or the deaf person or the lame person ask Allah, why me? These are your own unique trials. And Allah does not give you a trial that you do not have the resources to work at.
Exactly.
So it could be you building a boat. It gets very uncomfortable before it gets comfortable. You have to be your own source of strength. You have all the resources within you to fight that thing. Look at Nigeria, we are resource rich, but we're in an unresourceful state. So sometimes individuals have all the resources, but because of their mindset, they are not using the resources they have.
Okay, so it's like when you
They
tell
have
people
all the
there
resources.
is lights at the end of the tunnel, it doesn't mean you should keep on staying there and be hoping for that
You
light.
have to
should
build your boat,
build
because
your own
in
boat.
building the boat, you expand your muscle to be able to become that new person that is able to thrive and heal and transform. So see a family therapist to be able to help you through this. You need professional support. We offer those services as master coach coaching and mentoring help. So you can look us up and actually come to us for full heal, transform, and thrive session.
Inshallah.
I'd like to thank our dear guests for accepting our invitation. And inshallah, if we know anybody who needs help, we're going to refer them to you. And so we believe that you're going to accept our invitation in the future too.
Yes, thank you so much. It's my
Jazakumullahu
pleasure.
khair.